We're here today with a little soul sister, truth telling, transformation, and tea sipping. We are going to go all in. This episode is raw. It's real. It's personal. We're pulling back the curtain on relationships, the lies we've believed, the truths we've buried, and the gut checks that finally set us free. If you've ever felt lost in love, performed for approval, or stayed way too long when you knew it was time to let go, this one is just for you. So grab your favorite mug, take a deep breath, and begin to sip slowly, because we're spilling the tea on the messy, magical path back to self-love and sovereignty. Let's get to it.
Welcome to Sip Tea with me. I'm your host, Lisa Schoenthal. Think of me as that fun and inspirational auntie or sister you always wish you'd had. This is the space where we hang out, brew up meaningful conversations about health, wealth, relationships, and travel, because life is too short not to live with purpose, passion, and abundance. If you're ready to chase your dreams, find your balance, and make a massive impact, you're at the right table. I'll be sharing real stories, life hacks, and epic wisdom to keep you mindful, energized, and connected. It's all about inspiring and empowering you. So grab your favorite cuppa as we spill the tea on how to create a life that's transformational, empowering, and authentically you, 100%. Let's drink to that and get started.
Welcome back, beautiful souls. This one is tender, it's messy, and it's real, because some of the biggest lessons I have ever learned didn't come from meditation, books, or even therapy. They came from love, from loss, from ignoring my gut, and then finally learning to trust it. I'm Lisa, and I am your hostess of Sip Tea with Me. I'm so glad you're at the table with me today. I am also an author, a speaker, and a retreat host. And I'm a hostess on an airplane as a flight attendant for just a little bit longer. I'm a transformational guide who is here to help you become more authentic, feel empowered, and truly transform as a collective with each other. So today I'm sharing stories I've never told quite like this before. Stories about my family, about a man I called the Candy Man, and about how I learned to stop performing and to start leading with the truth. Because love didn't break me, but the way I abandoned myself for it almost did. And if you've ever stayed too long, shrunk to fit, felt that quiet nudge in your belly telling you something is off, but chose comfort or connection over truth, this episode is your mirror and maybe your turning point. Let's go ahead and get something straight right now. The deepest relationship you will ever have is the one you have with yourself. And every other relationship, every heartbreak, every almost, every disappointment or what if is just one more opportunity to come back home to you. The problem is when we are raised in systems that don't model emotional honesty, that reward performance, that normalize codependency and guilt, we become masters of pretending we're okay. I was the queen of this. We become hyper independent because needing anyone else feels dangerous. I've talked about this before. I talk about in my book how as a child, I was actually called Little Miss Independent, and I was given a lot of praise for it. But really, in the end, that hyper independence was just me putting up walls, trying to block people from hurting me, trying to keep myself protected so that love wouldn't come too close and then leave me again. Hyper independence is definitely not something to be praised, but it does have a place. Independence, of course, has a place in our world. So we believe that we build lives where we're in control, careers that put us in charge, relationships that keep people just far enough away so that we don't have to be fully seen or heard again, just like I was talking about. This was definitely me, and I'm wondering if it's you too. When I lost my dad to suicide, I didn't know the truth at first, but I felt it in my body, the disconnection, the silence, the sudden weight of needing to protect myself forever. I told myself I didn't need anyone. And for a while, I made that true. I went ahead and built a career where I called all the shots. I entered relationships that kept me free, long distance, emotionally unavailable. And all the while, I kept wearing this badge of independence that said, "You can't hurt me if I never really let you in." But here's the thing. that wall, it keeps pain out, but it also keeps the intimacy, joy, and real connection out too. Then came the Candyman. This man wasn't just charming, he was intoxicating. I didn't just fall into the relationship, I dissolved into it. I stopped dancing with my own rhythm and I started tiptoeing around his world. I tried to become the vision of myself I thought I would be enough for him. And in the process, I forgot who I was. And here's the truth. I really didn't want to see at the time. I didn't just lose myself in the relationship with him. I found myself in that same pattern over and over again. Different men, same lessons. Can you relate to this? I feel like this is so relatable and something that we do as women. I would step into their world. I would mold myself to fit their energy, their pace, their priorities. And every time a little more of me would go quiet, my intuition would start whispering, this doesn't feel right. But I'd override it because the attention felt so good, because being wanted felt like love, because staying felt easier than starting over. And really the truth was, I didn't even know myself. So why was I getting involved with these people and just morphine? But deep down, I knew if I had to abandon myself to be chosen, I wasn't really being chosen. These men, they never really saw me because I didn't know me. I was just performing, and I had done it for so long. I didn't even recognize how disconnected I was until I looked in the mirror one day and didn't recognize the woman looking back at me. I just want to say, I talk about this in my book. I didn't just choose to go look in the mirror. I actually had someone who is really important to me in life, another man. I had him say to me, you need to go home and look in the mirror. And if you recognize that person looking back at you, great, stay where you're at, keep doing the same thing. But if you don't, you need to make a change. I will be forever thankful to that guy. He's actually in my book as well, The Earth Angel. We'll give him a shout out, one of my favorite humans on the planet. When I looked in the mirror, I didn't see myself. It wasn't because of age. It wasn't because of heartbreak. It was because I had traded my authenticity for attachment. And here's the thing. You can't live your truth when you're trapped in someone else's version of you. You can't be sovereign when you are shape-shifting to avoid rejection. You can't trust your intuition if you've been trained to silence it for the sake of harmony. This episode isn't about shame. It's about remembrance. It's your reminder that love isn't supposed to cost you your voice, your joy, or your identity. And I want to speak to something deeper here. I really want to talk to you. Something that took me years fully to see, I want to share with you. That need I had to be wanted, to be approved of, to never be too much or too emotional or too needy, it didn't start with the candy man. It didn't start with the relationships where I lost myself. It started much earlier. When I lost my dad, I didn't know the truth. And when the truth finally did surface, I still didn't know what to do with the ache it left in my heart. There's something so disorientating about that kind of loss. When someone is there and then suddenly they're not, and no one knows how to talk about it. So you learn not to ask. You learn not to need. You learn to be okay, even when you're not. And maybe you're thinking, well, I didn't lose my dad and I have a happy family and I had a happy childhood. But if you're having questions with relationships, if you're not being able to really set in and love with your whole heart, I invite you to look at your past, to really kind of walk through some of the events that have happened in your life. So maybe it was one of your first relationships. Maybe it was something that happened in school. Maybe you had a teacher that you were seeking approval from, or maybe you were a sports team and you were looking to achieve a certain goal and you disappointed someone. Or maybe it was your parents, or maybe it was a sibling. We have all kinds of different experiences that cause us to shut down, that cause us to create protective mechanisms that allow us to just sort of harden our hearts, so to speak. So I just invite you to look back into your world with curiosity, with the idea of want to get to know myself. You know how when you go on a date and you're asking the person all these questions because you're trying to suss out if they're going to be your person or if you jive with them or if you vibe with them. Just imagine if you did that with yourself. If you really asked yourself, hey, what was your childhood like? Hey, how do you feel about your parents and your siblings? Hey, was there anything that really made you feel disappointed? Is there anything that really hurt you in life? What if we just sort of dated ourselves and asked all those really deep, deep questions? I mean, the whole idea here about, dating yourself is really getting to know who you are so that you can choose with sovereign beliefs. You can choose who it is that you want closest to you, who it is that you feel you would grow with, that you could create with, that you could explore the world with. It's a really exciting proposition. And at first, it sounds kind of daunting. Like, just why would I want to ask myself all those questions? That's hard. But really, it's just this beautiful exploration. And I feel like it's how we fall in love with ourselves. And what's better than that? So, back to where we were at around this same time that I was building this little wall up from losing my dad, my mom was doing what she needed to do. And I just want to say, I love her deeply. I know that I chose her to be my mom. She probably of anyone on the planet is the person that I've looked for the most approval from and that I've admired the most. She probably doesn't believe that, but it's true. She has a sort of resilience. She has a deep spiritual nature. She is incredibly wise. She's very private, so she's not always sharing those gifts, but she's definitely been the person in my life that's made me think. And I haven't always appreciated the way that's happened. And I'm sure she would say that I've been feisty and rebellious or even angry about some of the things that have come up. But really, my mom has always reminded me that there's other ways to look at things, that there's other ways to come at things, that, we kind of do things in our own comfort zone. And sometimes we need someone else to remind us that we have to look at things a different way. Okay. So anyway, it took a couple years, but my mom got remarried to my stepdad, who I just call dad. And then my siblings came along, and my siblings are 9 and 10 years younger than me. And when this happened, it was so exciting. It was so amazing to have a father figure. It was amazing to get these little brothers and sisters. But what I did see was, in hindsight, was I saw my mom becoming something else. She became someone else. She was a wife again. She was a mom to little ones again. She was a version of herself I didn't fully recognize because I knew her at a different part of her life, right? Now she was maturing. She was more at an age where you would normally have kids. She had a partner that was showing up in a different way than my birth dad did. She was in a whole different circumstance. And it was a little bit different for me to recognize because when I think of her as a kid, she was like belly dancing in the living room and playing tennis. And we would like hop fences of people's houses to play tennis in their backyards. And we would go to the beach and there was always music playing and she was an artist. And I guess it was just like I didn't fully recognize this person that she became and evolved into. She was totally doing what she needed to do to keep going and to step forward in her life. And I totally admire her for that. I admire her resilience and the way that she kind of created this beautiful life with security and safety and a strong man next to her. But at the same time, the truth is there was this part of me that felt pushed aside. I didn't know this at the time. I have to look back to see this. I didn't feel rejected. I didn't feel unloved. I just sort of felt unseen. As a little girl, I didn't have the words to say, hey, what about me? What about that life that we used to have? And how do I fit in here? How do I fit into this new life? I just want to say I loved being a big sister. I got to watch those kids grow. They're so important to me in my life. I wouldn't do life without my siblings. But instead, I became someone who wouldn't need to ask. But instead of saying, hey, what about me? I just didn't ask. I became capable. I became independent, the one who didn't need anything. And from that moment on, I started building a life that would make sure I never had to rely on anyone ever again. But the truth also is, I did need something. I needed safety. I needed presence. I needed to know that even in the messiest moments, I wouldn't be forgotten. And when those needs went unmet, they didn't disappear. They turned into patterns. And again, I just want to say, it sounds like I wasn't having this wonderful life. I actually had amazing moments in my life. Like I said, I had amazing time growing up with all three of my siblings. My mom and I were close the entire time. I had my grandmother, Pansy, who was so much a part of my life. She was so beautiful. So we find other places and other ways to get the things that we need so that we can begin to thrive. But within all of that, I did create patterns, and the patterns went like this. I said to myself, if I become who you want me to be, then you'll stay around. If I don't rock the boat, I'll be accepted. If I keep the peace, I'll be accepted. If I take care of your emotions, maybe you'll finally notice mine. And that's how so many of us lose ourselves. But here's the part I need you to hear. All of those experiences, all of those ways I abandoned myself, all those detours, the doubts, the denial of my truth, well, that is what became my superpowers. And that is where your superpowers lie as well. We have to look back to see where we faltered, where we were disconnected. And then we have to see in that, not only are those our greatest weaknesses, they're also our greatest strengths. Because eventually I started listening. I followed what lit me up. I danced. I traveled. I cried with my girlfriends in foreign countries. I found mentors and spiritual guides. I'd read books that cracked me open. I asked the hard questions of the people around me. They didn't always enjoy it. I journaled my truths until I could no longer ignore it. And eventually I wrote that book, The Men We Meet, 15 Key Lessons Learned in Love. And slowly I came back to myself. Did everyone approve of that? Was everyone happy about that? No, they weren't. And it was really hard to have the people closest to me continue to judge where I was at in my process. But you know what? It doesn't matter. Those people still love me. I still love them. And we worked our way through it. And the reward for me was getting to know myself, finding that curiosity, falling in love with myself, knowing my truth, honoring it, and really saying, you know what, approval's not worth it. It's never worth it. I did another podcast early on. I'm not sure what episode it is about approval. And it just does not serve us. Our body and our heart and our soul slowly dies if we live for approval. So I came back to myself, and did I wish I had done it sooner? Well, I mean, yeah, of course I wish I had done it sooner. But I know there are so many moments where I knew I was going against my own desires. I wasn't trusting my gut. I was saying pretty much F you to my intuition just to be approved of and to feel safe in someone else's story. I was told I needed to follow a timeline, that if I wanted marriage and kids and the dream, I had to get in line and follow these processes. Looking back, like I said, it wasn't easy, and I wasted a lot of time. And I know in my spiritual belief system, time doesn't even exist. So who really cares? I had lessons I agreed to come on this planet and learn in my human body suit, and I've learned them along the way. I've probably even picked up some things I didn't agree to. There's that. But when I say I wasted time, when I look back, if I had trusted my gut, if I had trusted myself, if I had known myself, if I had really dated myself and fallen in love with myself and asked myself those questions with curiosity like we do when we date people, then I would have known to make decisions sooner, to get out sooner, to find the lesson and move on sooner. When I say I wasted time, I also wasted time thinking about how much time I wasted. So there's that. Do you guys do that? Does anyone out there do that? Where you just sit around wasting your energy thinking about something that's already passed and over, something that you can't get back? The best way to combat this is to really go into the gratitude zone. It's just to look at the situation and to be like, what did I get from it? What am I taking with me? What has caused me to be able to make more fierce, powerful decisions as I go forward? And then just let it go and move on, right? Why waste more time wasting time? So anyway, I didn't waste time. It was a process. It was choosing sometimes the hard way, but still choosing. And that free will, I love the talk about free will, that wild path of learning. It's definitely what shaped me into the woman I am now. It's why I share. It's why I speak. It's why I tell the truth, even when it shakes up people's hearts and souls, because I want you to know there is more freedom, more joy, more self-trust. And you don't have to wait decades or lifetimes or gut-wrenching heartbreaks to claim it. The sooner you step into your sovereignty, yourself, the sooner we all rise. And when we rise together, the collective frequency shifts. And that, love, is what creates true freedom. Of course, healing isn't just tears and epiphanies. Sometimes healing looks like laughing your ass off over the fact that you really thought that one guy, you know, the one, was your twin flame because he just liked the same obscure band and said namaste after sex. Girl, he was not your destiny. He was your data point. Humor keeps us human. It reminds us that we're not broken. We're just growing. And yeah, sometimes we take that scenic route through a few emotionally unavailable pit stops, but that doesn't mean we're off course. It means we're learning. It means we're remembering. We're recalibrating our internal compass, one lesson and one red flag at a time. And listen, if you've abandoned yourself before, join the club. We've all shapeshifted for love. We've all swallowed our voice to keep the peace. We've all stayed too long when we knew better. But now you know better. You feel the difference between a body that's safe and a body that's bracing. You know what your gut is saying. You know what truth feels like in your bones. You didn't need to keep proving you're lovable by staying in places that dishonor you. You don't need to shrink to be safe. And you don't need to betray your truth to avoid disappointing someone else. The truth is, real love doesn't demand your self-abandonment. Real love won't ask you to become smaller, quieter, more manageable. And if someone does require that of you, they are not your person. They are your teacher. And your graduation is knowing when to walk away. So to help you get there, I've got some journal prompts for you. Here's the first one. I'll go ahead and take a little second here. You can always pause to go grab your journal. If you miss these journal prompts, they're always in the show notes, and you can always go over to my website at lisashowenthal.com and look at the blog over there. It's basically an outline of this podcast. You can just grab the journal prompts and affirmations over there. So I'd also love you to join my mailing list because we have wonderful events coming up like La Vida Sagrada in Mexico in October. I feel like you should come with me. Let me know if you have any questions. All right. So what part of myself, this is the first journal prompt. What part of myself have I given away in relationships, romantic or familial, in exchange for approval or connection? What part of myself have I given away in relationships, romantic or familiar, or maybe even in career, like any kind of relationship will do here, in exchange for approval or connection? So you can ask yourself this question a whole bunch of different ways, right? Because you can ask it about your partnerships, you can ask it about your work, you can ask it about your mom, your dad, your siblings, whoever it is that's close to you. You can ask the same question over and over. Journal prompt 2. Where am I still performing instead of leading with my truth? Where am I still performing instead of leading with my truth? I'm asking myself this one a lot lately because I feel like we're in a transformational place just as a collective humanity right now, where we're asking, where am I still performing? What am I doing that is not truly me, just for the sake of survival, for the sake of income, for the sake of approval? I've worked on a lot of the surface levels of these things, and now it's just going a little bit more deeply into it. Question 2, where am I still performing instead of leading with my truth? Number 3, what does it feel like when I override my gut instincts? Pains me to even ask this. What does it feel like when I override my gut instinct? You can really hone your gut instinct. You can hone it on the littlest of things, like maybe something you could do today to start honing this instinct is just as you wake up, you could say to yourself, what is it that I need today? Every time that you're going to eat a meal, you can stop and ask your body and spirit, what do I need to eat right now? What would be so nourishing? What would help me be more in tune with myself? What would make my mind sharper? What would help me to feel more calm? Your body will actually tell you if you slow down enough and ask. And this is just a very simple way to ask about your gut instinct. And then you'll start feeling this. Like when you're driving, you can also practice your gut instincts of asking yourself before you put in your GPS. You can ask yourself, what do you think the best route is to go home? Like, what streets do I need to take to go home? Your gut will kind of tell you, or you'll hear a little voice that'll say, take the coast or go up over the freeway or whatever. But you'll start to get used to that feeling of what your gut is sharing with you. So just try the little things, and then you can start asking the bigger things about the people and the situations around relationships and around your own sovereignty. Journal prompt 4, what would it look like to stay loyal to myself no matter who's in the room? I love this so much. What would it look like to stay loyal to myself no matter who's in the room? So if you're someone who knew me my whole life, you may think that I've always been sort of confident in every room that I've walked into, that I come across pretty close to myself. I'm going to say the self I created, not my true self, but it's a piece of myself. I do love people and I do love being with people, but a lot of times we shift, right? We shift depending on who's in the room to find our approval. So one of the things I notice is I belong to a women's group, and there's a lot of powerful women that come and say when I'm in a room of like 40 to 50 people with my e-women group, I walk in. And as I do, confident, easy in conversation, easy in crowds, easy to speak on a microphone. But there's a lot of powerful women. And a lot of times, even though I know I can give advice, even though I know I have the answer, even though I have the experience, a lot of times I have to remind myself to just sort of pull back and be a little less of that person. So what I've been doing lately is asking myself, is that what you need to be doing? Is it your truth to give other people space, or is it your truth to actually step in? And both of those things are true. So anyway, there's lots of ways that you can figure out what does it look like to you to stay loyal to yourself no matter who's in the room. Okay, here's your affirmations. I honor my truth even when it's uncomfortable. I honor my truth even when it's uncomfortable. I have been working so much on this. I would love to hear. You can always go in my social media or you can send me an email. I would love to hear about how you've been honoring your truth. I lead with love and I lead with boundaries. We have more space and capacity to love and to be authentic when we know what our boundaries are and we can clearly communicate them without a bunch of emotion. So I lead with love and I lead with boundaries. I no longer abandon myself to be chosen. I no longer abandon myself to be chosen. As I said for so many years, when people are like, why are you still single? I'm like, you know what? I would just rather be with myself than be with someone who I don't truly feel myself with. I'd rather just be with myself, right? So I trust my intuition. I trust my timing. I trust my intuition. I trust my timing. I trust myself. I am safe to be fully me, and the right people will rise to meet me there. I am safe to be fully me, and the right people will rise to meet me there. Let's breathe that one in. When you're you, as we talk about so often on this podcast, when you are you, when you're living in your full truth, in your greatest sovereignty, in your highest frequency, everything and everyone that you need will be in your life. Everyone and everything that you need will show up in your life with ease. So let's go ahead and close this one out. Whew, I want to take a deep breath with you right here. If you're still with me, thank you. Thank you for holding the space for the hard stuff, for the tenderness, for the truth. Thank you for letting yourself feel. Because if this episode stirred something inside of you, something raw, something real, I want you to know you are not broken. You are not behind. You are just remembering who you are. And who you are is sovereign. A soul who no longer has to perform to be loved, a heart brave enough to leave what no longer grows you, a woman learning to trust her gut, speak her truth, and lead herself home. So if this moves you, don't keep it to yourself. Follow the show, leave a 5-star review, and share it with someone who needs this message too. You never know who's waiting for a reminder that they're allowed to choose themselves first. Then I would love it, like I said earlier, if you just come on over and join me at lisashowenthal.com. Everything's over there. The podcast is over there. The journal prompts are over there. The blog is over there. The trip to Mexico is over there. The free journal for transformation and self-discovery is over there. And mostly the mailing list is. So I keep everything over there for ease for you. If this episode cracks something open inside of you, I again would love to see you at La Vida Sagrada. It's a sacred week in Mexico, October 1st through November 6th, where we'll remember, rise, and reclaim together. Ritual, rest, reconnection, and rebirth. If your soul whispered yes today, this is your invitation. Go check it out. Let this be the turning point you've been waiting for. And of course, I'd love for you to join me right here next week at the table with your cuppa. We'll keep rising, keep remembering, and keep rooting deeper in our truth together with love from Lise.